Shalom. I give all the praises to yHAWAH, BAHASHAM RAWCHAA QADASH, the one who the elders and apostles of the great millstone, for teaching me this truth and sincerity, citation to the hope for the spirit of the brokenness of the earth. This is nonetheless entitled Shamayam, host are besieging Babylon, which is America. Okay, Shamayam, which is the Hebrew word for heavens. Right, heaven's hosts are besieging Babylon, aka America. All right, and this lesson was inspired through the Holy Spirit, and by the Holy Spirit, just some things I was watching. There's a huge talk about this Golden Dome, right? It's just how the things that are happening currently in America is weakening America, right? It's not making Americans stronger. It's weakening it, right? When you talk about the economy, the quality of life of the modern day American citizens, okay, Babylonian citizens, right? America making America allies relationship. We think of people like Canada, okay, American enemies, so this is the Lord doing, okay. So I got here the word besieging. It means to surround a place. Besieging is a verb that means to surround a place, especially with an army, to prevent people or supplies getting in or out. It can also mean to trouble with the request. All right. Also, is the second definition: crowd around oppressively, surround and harass. And this is what the Lord doing. He is surrounding or crowding around America. Right. He's harassing America. Right. Those chariots, for example. A lot of chariot sightings. Okay. So I'm going to read here in Ecclesiastes 23:19 reads, "Such a man only fears the eyes of man, and knows not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men and considering the most secret parts." Right, the eyes of the Lord goes back to the angels, right? His those are his eyes, right? Those are his so to speak, watchers of the universe. Okay, they report the word angel mean messenger. They report back to the Lord, about what's been going on, in the world. The Lord, so they're watching, they're beholding the ways of men, right? They're looking at the bad and the good, right? The evil and the good. And he's beholding, and he's watching, especially have his eye of Babylon, right? The Lord, he remembered the iniquity, the sins of Babylon, and what they had done to his people, and have blasphemed the things of heavens. Okay. Well, he definitely has the eyes of Babylon, right? And this goes back to what besieging, right? He's crowding around, oppressively surrounding and harassing. He's harassing Babylon, right? With plagues, right? You got your thunderstorms, or your tornadoes, okay? Pestilence, List goes on and on. I'm gonna play a little clip from this little um, this live stream that took place. And Lord, well, you can hear it titled U.S. Military Service Chiefs on the Future Defense Strategy, and this is for education purposes only. Just for fair use, education purposes only. It's meant to be for a teaching purposes.
And that target a little iteratively. So we're trying to do things differently.
General Sullivan, speaking of shooting down missiles, let's talk about Golden Dome and the administration's proposal to learn from the Iron Dome in Israel and its success to build our own air defense. I assume Space Force is going to be a big piece of that, or have a central role to play in that, along with the other services. Why, first of all, is it a good expenditure of money? I'm old enough to remember SDI, the Strategic Defense Initiative under President Reagan, which was credited in part in bankrupting or threatening to bankrupt the U.S., the Soviet Union. And that was one of the factors leading to the downfall of the Soviet Union. Is this going to bankrupt us? Isn't deterrence enough? And how does it differ from what we already have in terms of defense against missiles, unmanned vehicles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and the like?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. One, first, how do you put a price tag on keeping the homeland safe? And I think what you're hearing and what we're seeing is certainly an increase in threats directly to the homeland, maybe in a way we haven't faced in a generation. And it's our job to think about the worst day that the United States would face, where the adversaries use these exquisite weapons and start to target the homeland. And so it's hard to put a price and say, yeah, that's too expensive, so we're going to take risk in the homeland. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think you're going to hear people on stage saying
we make those judgments every day, right?
Yeah, well,
every budget is a decision about how much we're willing to spend for security.
Of course, but so what we're doing is we're phrasing it in terms of, yes, we would love to deter an attack. How do you do that? You do that with a credible force that can deny benefits and create consequences for an adversary that would choose to attack us. But that takes a credible force. It's not just talk. It's not bluster. You have to actually be able to do something. You have to be able to impose penalties and deny those benefits. And so I think that by looking and investing in the system of systems, so let's make no mistake about this, Iron Dome or Golden Dome is not one big umbrella we buy that protects the homeland from a number of threats. It's a system of systems. We're already invested in a number of these systems that will contribute in terms of sensors, in terms of the C2 data infrastructures to move the data around, in terms of kinetic effectors that are going to try to take out some of these capabilities. And I think what Golden Dome is doing is allowing us to do a more holistic mission analysis that says, where are the gaps? Where are the issues? Where can we be more credible in our defense of the homeland to achieve that condition of deterrence? Because that is the ultimate goal. But it's got to be a credible force to do it.
Conceivably, the kinds of missiles that are going to be coming.
Yeah. So, as you heard, the David, okay, for the U.S. Air Force chief, right? He explains, what the purpose of the Golden Dome, okay, which is ultimately to protect, the U.S., okay, from any, attacks if there was to come, or if there was, to be one, okay. Basically, what any missiles attacks, okay, ICBMs, right? That's the reason why, because this country can get attacked in many ways. Can get attacked by, land, right? But and this all goes back to what Job 18:11. It said, "Terrors should make him afraid on every side, and should drive him to his feet." Okay, and terror is driving this devil to his feet. Okay, it making him, it's making him, create or invest his money, invest his, money into, the security, right? Go to, you know, it's because this devil they want to rule forever, right? They want to stay around forever, but we just know that it's not gonna happen because prophecy says so. You know, prophecy dictates, the future, okay, of this world. You know, prophecy does. So this golden dome, and I'm gonna play more of it. So I'm just gonna continue to play more of them, talking about the golden dome.
Coming at us are different than what's been coming at Israel nearby: cruise missiles, drones, some ballistic missiles. We were talking about intercontinental ballistic missiles, maybe nuclear missiles. I mean, once upon a time, the mutual assured destruction was viewed as a key part of our defense. So that was our nuclear doctrine. Are we changing that now?
No, I think nuclear deterrence is still nuclear deterrence. Our nuclear capabilities deter an adversary from launching a nuclear attack against the United States. The problem is the number of threats that can put the homeland at risk and the citizens of the United States at risk has grown. Hypersonic threats, threats from space, non-kinetic effects, cyber attacks, the threat vectors that we face: land, air, sea, space, undersea. All of that has now created a far more complex threat environment. This is not simply trying to prevent one nation from launching a nuclear attack against the United States. We have to defend against all those threats to protect the homeland. And so, again, this is about a concept, a system of systems that starts to try to address that full tapestry of threats that are being brought against us.
Admiral Lundy, the president's focus on Greenland has raised the issue of Arctic security to everyone's attention. You've got one.
Yeah, so that's the end of that. Yeah, so you heard it. The Golden Dome is meant to, deter, and to deter and protect, to deter ultimately, to protect the air, or to deter, just like to deter, ICBMs, any other hypersonic missile, and to protect, okay, the America, right? To protect this land, right? That's ultimately, because they know what's going to come, they trust me, they are aware of what's going to come. Okay, they trying their best. Okay, their best. Okay, to ensure that it doesn't happen. To ensure that that this land doesn't get attacked. But what does the Creator of the universe says about that? Okay, the one who made America, so to speak, the one who gave America its, who gave the Edomites, the wicked. He saw Edom, who gave him his power, So I'm gonna get here in Luke 12:49. And this is yHAWASAHI speaking. Okay, it says, "I come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it are to be kindled?" Okay, so the Lord said He come to send fire on the earth, right? And what would I if it are to be kindled? Okay, so this is what you call word talk, word speak. Okay, word talk. All right. Remember the Lord. Remember the yHAWAH. He's a man of war. Okay. So He comes to send fire on the earth, right? He's going to bring fire through those chariots. Okay. And what will have already kindled? So it's going to be already kindled, right? a fire is going to be our, and that's a symbolism of what World War III happening. Okay, all hell breaking loose, Jacob trouble happening. You know, um, I'm gonna get her in. Jeremiah 51:1 reads, "Thus says the Lord, yHAWAH, right? Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind." A destroying wind is referring to nuclear destruction. Revelation speaks about how the angels are holding back the winds, right? This it was referring to this is what they're holding back, this destroying wind, right? This nuclear war, okay? This nuclear destruction. So the Lord said he's gonna rise up against Babylon. And I will send unto Babylon founders that shall found her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Okay. Founders are, let me look it up, strangers, right? Which are referring to what? Foreigners, an enemy, right? So an enemy of Babylon, okay? And they shall fan her. It should enter her. Basically, they should destroy her, nuke her. Okay? They're going to nuke Babylon. It should empty her land, make it desolate. And for in that day of trouble, they should be against her round about. You know what? They're gonna storm, okay, this land, right? Their many brothers had dreams, right? Babylon being destroyed by China, by, how they had, NATO, right? Had China on America's soil. So this horror gonna get touched, okay? And let me go here to Jeremiah 50, right? Jeremiah 50:22, a sound of ballad is in the land of great destruction. Okay, this is referring to World War III, the Third World, great destruction, referring to nuclear destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? So the hammer of the whole earth is Esau, right? The Lord has said that Esau was a hammer he used to punish the nation of Israel, Jacob, through what? Slavery, okay, captivity, right? So the Lord saying, how is the hammer, right? The hammer, Esau, Edom, okay, the Edomites, right? Those that's rule this word, right? The basis of men, okay? Cut asunder and broken, okay? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? So the Lord ultimately is going to break, this number, right? He's breaking it by besieging it, bits by, day by day, month by month, year by year, this hammer is getting broken, it's getting torn down, right? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh. The Lord said he had laid a trap before Babylon, and Babylon was aware. And guess what? They got caught into the trap, right? Because they have striven against the Lord, right? Through what? It laws, right? It's disobedience, blaspheme, against the Yahweh Shah, what what the punishment, Esau Edom laid upon the Lord people. Verse stirring to cause strife, right? To stir up, okay, to excite oneself against, engage in strife, wage war, right? The what the Lord has said that he has set himself upon high, proclaim himself to be Yahweh Shah, right? So he's assigning himself against the Lord Yahweh Shah, okay? Thinking he is the Lord Yahweh Shah, thinking that he can't be taken down, so proud, right? Having mindset that no one can, take him down, okay? So the Lord is going to humble America, going to humble Esau Edom, okay? Going to break, the spirit of Esau Edom, okay? And we're going to break him to the point, gonna break him, back down to his position, right? Of being the basis of men. He ultimately trying to, also he's trying to wage war against the Lord, okay? Through his through his space force, right? The reason why the space force was created ultimately, it was to deter, or it was to defend against any foreigners from outer space. And guess what? We know Yahweh Shah, he's coming from what? The outer space, right? And guess what? Those space forces is gonna do their darn best to try to attack the Lord, but we know it's not gonna work. It's not gonna play out as they want, or as they think it's supposed to play out. Meaning what, them winning. They're not gonna win that battle. They're gonna lose. The Lord, see, this is prophecy, right? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nation, right? So this is Babylon prophesied to become a desolation. So we already know we have the outcome of that battle, right? It's not going to be a win-win. Babylon going to be a lose-lose. The Lord Yahweh has opened his armory and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh of hosts in the land of Chaldeans, right? So the weapons, the Lord armor consists of those 5 spells. It consists of every weapon you see. Every weapon that you can see with your naked eye, whether that be whether that be physically or whether that be biologically, right? It's the Lord weapon, okay? It's the work of the Lord, okay? For example, the ICBMs, right? Those are that's the work of the Lord. The Lord, that's his work. That's he used. So go back to Jeremiah 51 and no, Ezekiel 34. No, not Ezekiel 34. Isaiah 54:16 says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." Okay. The Lord created the smith, which brings to your scientists, right? Those that work on those that develop and build these warheads, right? These nuclear missiles. Okay. They blow the coals in the fire. And they bring forth an instrument for his work, which is referring to the ICBM, the hypersonic missile. Okay. And how crazy waster to destroy. We talked when think about your Oppenheimers, right? You know, those are the wasters to destroy, right? Which these wasters referring to the ICBMs, okay, to destroy what Babylon, right? To destroy Esau, his kingdom, right? His rulership. This bringing me back to my point here in Jeremiah 15:25. Okay, that is the weapon of the Lord in the nation. Okay, His righteous anger. As you can see, it says Jeremiah 15:29. This call together the archers against Babylon. All ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Besiege Babylon, right? So the Lord is basically telling he's gonna put the spirit, he's gonna put this in the spirit of these nations, these empires, right? These nations rulers, right, to camp against it round about, right, to besiege Babylon. Right, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she has done. Do unto her, for she has been proud against the Lord yAHAWASAHI, against the Holy One of Israel. You know, and this is what goes back to Jeremiah 51:2. Right, so they're gonna besiege Babylon. Okay, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up his Bredan, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host, all her armies. Okay. So let the archer bend the bow. This symbolizes what? Those ICBMs, right? Those hypersonic missiles. Okay. Any other missiles that these nations possess, they're gonna be shot against Babylon. So thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through her in her streets. It says, for Israel has not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power of the Lord yAHAWASAHI host, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Okay, so we know that the nation Israel as a whole, they won't be forsaken, which refers to ultimately the elect, right? The elect. There's elect in each tribe, okay, that is going to be, delivered. We do know that the 2/3, right, of the nation Israel will be delivered. And with the 2/3, like the 2/3 of the nation Israel will be destroyed, right? Those are the ones the Lord do not want. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off her iniquity. For this is the times of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense, right? He will basically, judge, okay, Babylon the Great, bringing me to here, Ezekiel 34:1. Okay. Ezekiel 31, because this is what's going to happen in the middle of that destruction. The Lord, he going to be what? Deliver his elect. So this Ezekiel 34:11 says, for thus said the Lord, the Most High, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out. As a shepherd seek out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered. In the cloud in dark day. The cloud in the dark day is referring to what? In the cloud in dark day. This is referring to what? Judgment. Okay, the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is going to be what? It's going to be with dark. It's going to be filled with darkness. Okay, so this sheep is referring to his elect. Okay, remember, Yahweh said he had not lost no sheep that the Lord had given him. Okay, he shall be son of perdition. Okay, what? So that prophecy can be fulfilled. Which is referring to the son of perdition is Judas Iscariot. So this the sheep. The Lord is coming back to. Is referring to his elect. Okay, because the elect is scattered amongst the four corners of the earth, right? So the elect is going to be delivered, right? So simultaneously, there's going to be a distortion deliverance taking place. And the scripture says, when in the twinkle of an eye, the elect's going to be called out. Okay. All right. So continue resetting how it brings them out from the people and gathers them from the countries and will bring them to their own land and feeds them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers and all the habited places of the country. Okay. So the main country we know that the elect's going to be delivered out is Babylon the Great, right? America. Okay. And where of the land they've been scattered among, So in order for that to happen, the Lord, he had to destroy, right, this country. Okay. Which ultimately going to take place. At this point, I want to bring out in Ezekiel 34. And then here, second Ezra 16:3, just going more on, the Lord going to besiege Babylon, right? It says, for strong is his right hand that being as he bowed. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot in the ends of the world. Okay, so this right hand, strong is his right hand, referring to his ultimate, his war, his war side, right? His yHAWASAHI, okay? Those the Archangel Michael, right? He, the Lord, his spirit is going to be in these missiles to, not miss their targets, okay? So this golden dome that they were talking about, that is supposed to be be created, okay, to deter missiles, ICBMs, etc., right? It's going to be useless. It's going to be money in the drain type of thing, right? Useless. It's not going to, it's going to be created for nothing, right? Reading here, read again. Second Ezra 16:13, for strong is his right hand that bendeth thee both. His arrows is another word for it's a code word, okay, for ICBMs, right? There's something called a broken arrow. A broken arrow. What's a broken arrow? Broken arrow, right? A nuclear weapon accident, right? They learned about 32 nuclear weapon accident known as broken arrows, okay? So the point is that another word for a nuclear weapon, right, or a ICBM, whatever you want to call it, is a arrow, okay? That he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss, right? These are sharp, and in a nuclear missile, in the warhead, where the power lies, right, where the teeth of the missile lies, right, can host anywhere from 54 to I believe 54, around 50 to 100, I think 54 to 100, warheads, So that's power. Okay, that's destruction, right? That's a destroying wind. That's destruction, right? That waster that was created to destroy. Okay. And the Lord, he's besieging Babylon, right? Because he's getting ready to what? Destroy Babylon, right? He's searching that out. Okay. He's spying on the land. He's seeing what they all about. He's spying on his enemy. Okay. He causes things to happen, right? Because ultimately the Lord, he controls everything, right? He's gonna put it in the spirit of Esau, to fight. Okay. The revelation goes into that, right? How Michael and the archangels, fought against the devil and his angels. Okay. That's war in heaven, right? That's the third will. Okay. How's he gonna gather? He also said he's gonna gather, but go back to Joel, how he gonna gather the nations, right? In that land barren desolate, right? So I'm close here by giving all the praise to yHAWAH. BAHASHAM RAWCHAA QADASH. Next time, say shalom.